Welcome, everybody. If you're watching us online, thank you. It's nice to have you, too. For everybody who came here, thanks for showing up today. Today's message is going to be kind of about the new year. And before I start, I just want to say thank you to Sarah and Autumn for asking me to come and preach today. And it's really nice talking to you guys. I haven't been up here in a long time. I think it's been, oh boy, over a year, I think. Been kind of taking a break and been busy working, and I've got 3 kids now, so lots going on in my life. And yeah, it's nice to be up here, though. Had to shake off the dust of the sermon writing chops. I forgot what it was like. I had to go spend some time in Starbucks for a little bit, sit and focus and get something down on paper, but it was really good. I'm glad to be here. So today's title of the message is, What Does God Have for You in 2023? And the new year brings this trend of ads, right? We see advertisements all over the place for things like Planet Fitness and Peloton bikes and diet plans and subscriptions that you can sign up for. It comes around every year at this time. The ball drop is sponsored by Planet Fitness, right? There's a reason for that, because they want everybody to come on in. The other thing that happens this time of year is companies like Spotify put out their 2022 year in review. I always like looking at that and then kind of cringe at how many podcasts I listen to every year. When it's 64,000 minutes, and it's wow, that's a lot. But at least it's good stuff, right? You're learning. A lot of companies are doing that these days. They like to put out their little 2022 year in review, so you can kind of get a snapshot of what you've done this past year. Hashtag New Year's resolution is usually trending on Twitter right around this time, and everybody starts talking about what they're going to do this year. What's going to be different? What are they going to start, right? What habit are they going to kick? What goal do they have? They're going to quit their job. They're going to start that company they've always wanted to start. They're going to go climb a mountain. They're going to do whatever, right? We see it all the time. Yet, according to Forbes, 80% of people, they fail their New Year's resolutions, and they fully admit it. And then the other 20% also probably do. They just don't want to admit it to anybody. And a lot of people fail their New Year's resolutions in the first 2 weeks, right? Changing habits and changing lifestyle stuff is hard. It's not easy. It's almost like we need somebody who could help us do this and maybe make some lasting change. What if I told you that for 2023, instead of it just being some habits that you change or starting some new program or doing something like that, you could see some actual life change happen for you in your life? Doesn't that sound good? I think it sounds pretty good. Your life is going one direction, and now it's going in a completely different direction. Doesn't that sound good? And now you're going to ask me, well, how do I do that? Well, let me tell you. I think it starts with community. Probably not the first thing you thought I was going to say, huh? I think life change in 2023 can start with community and relationships. So if you want to pull up this slide, up here are a couple TV shows. We've got Friends, we've got Cheers, and we've got The Office. And they all have one thing in common. It's a group of people, and you are watching their lives. And these are very popular shows because I think we all want what these people have. Everybody wants to go to a place like Cheers where everybody knows your name. Everybody knows who you are. They're asking you how you're doing. They are invested in your life. Friends is a group of people who are living together, doing life together. They're neighbors, door across door, and they're running through the thick and thin of life. The Office is this close-knit group of coworkers who are coming in, pulling their 8 hours a day. And they're not just going to work, but by the end of the show, literally doing everything together. Their biggest life moments happen together. They're getting married. People are getting into relationship with each other because they are close. They're not just going in, clocking out. These shows are popular for a reason. And I think it's because we all want community. So, who is your community? Community means a lot of things today. There's a lot of context for community. There's a show called Community that's about a community college. There is a community called Manitowoc that we live in. Is it our state? Is it our country? People who manage like fan pages and interactions on social media for influencers, those are called community managers, right? So we hear it all the time, but like, what does it really mean in the context of like Jesus in our life today? What does community mean for you and me moving into 2022 in a biblical Jesus form of community? I've been reading this book called Find Your People, and it's by this lady named Jenny Allen. And some of the concepts that I'm talking about today kind of come from that book because we've been reading it together, Michaela and I, and a group of our friends. And we kind of chose to go down this little book club journey together because we wanted to stay close and we wanted to find our little community with some people that we wanted to do life with. And after reading that book, we realized, and Jesus really teaches, that community for us today is a really big, kind of larger concept of community, okay? I would challenge you to shrink your idea of community, if we're looking at this through Jesus' eyes, down to a much smaller circle. Even like 10 people. Even the people in this room as just our community. Last week, for Christmas, we hosted a Christmas gathering here at church, and there were like 60 people who showed up who got to do Christmas together when they otherwise would have not had community to do Christmas with. That's community, and that's super powerful. So thinking in that vein, would you agree that in today's day, we're kind of lonely? Like, society, technology, the way we do business, the way we live basically today is really far from the concept of community. And we know the names of more people than ever in history, but we probably know less people deeply than we ever have in history. Borrowing a cup of sugar from the neighbor has been replaced with Amazon delivery and curbside pickup. Even I work at a bank, the lines at the bank sometimes get shorter because now you can just take a picture of your check and it gets deposited, right? We keep advancing these things, we keep changing the way we live our lives, and really what it does is it distances ourselves, and then we go through a pandemic, and we saw exactly what that did. It really isolated everybody. And the concept of community and relationship was kind of torn apart. I would rather look at our circles of like people and influence as Christ is the center circle and a much smaller circle around that. And I think God calls us to find our people and fill that circle with those people. Gen Z and Gen Alpha and the kids that are coming up today, they crave community and relationship. And we have done a very good job of giving them reasons not to find healthy relationship. And we've taken away a lot of their opportunity for doing it the right way. And we instead have downplayed what it means to have meaningful, close relationships in small community and traded it for things like hype and numbers and followers and views. And that seems to be what we've valued these days. And even if you're not part of the younger generation looking towards fame and fortune in the form of a TikTok account, you can, just by looking at how we live our lives today, if you talk to anybody in this room that's over the age of 40, you would say, life is kind of different than it was when I was a kid. You know, things seem not as small. Things seem bigger. You know, people seem less connected. It's just not the same as it used to be. And I don't think God intended us to live lonely. I think God craves for us to have community and relationship. Jesus had a different vision for our lives. Can 2023 be a year for change for you? And how does community fit into that? So, first passage of the day, Mark 3:13 through 15, says, Jesus went up to the mountainside, called to himself the men he wanted to be close, to be his close companions. So they went up with him, and he appointed the 12, who he named apostles. And he wanted them to be continually at his side as his friends, so that he could send them out to preach and have authority to heal the sick and cast out demons. After he does this and he picks his guys, his group of 12, right? It's just 12 dudes. It's not 50, it's not 100. He picks this small group to represent him and to live life with him. He gives them all nicknames, which I think is really cool. Like, they come in with like one identity, and he gives them all these endearing nicknames that go on to kind of represent who they are the rest of their lives, like Peter the Rock. Like, that's so cool. Like, who doesn't love The Rock, right? He's the top paid actor in the world right now. He was the first Rock. He stole it from Peter. He, have you ever had, like, a group of friends where you had a nickname for each other? Like, you had, like, endearing, like, inside jokes and stories with each other? Like, that's the kind of relationship Jesus had with his disciples. Like, he lived life with them. They cried together. They went through ups and downs together. They disagreed with each other. They fought with each other. Like, they were true friends. They were really family. Like, the best kind of groups of family and inner circles are like that. It's not all sunshine and roses all the time. They truly did life together, and they didn't always agree. And they had little spats between each other, and yet they still remained close to each other. Heck, one of them betrayed them all. And Jesus was betrayed ultimately to the cross because of one of those 12, yet he still remained in that same close relationship to him, to Judas as well. They were a group of very diverse people. You know, Peter was a fisherman. There was a tax collector, which everybody hated. There was a highly educated doctor. They weren't like this normal group of people. They were very diverse. They were very different from each other. They didn't all have the same interests and education. Half of them, I don't think, could even really write or read very well. And the other half, you know, were educated, and they all followed the same guy. And I think they became family and his inner circle. And he proves it to us in Scripture. Right in the same chapter of Mark, he shook up everybody's idea of how he viewed community by saying this. He had just got done casting out demons and healing people, and it was on the Sabbath, which was a big no-no. The Pharisees, which were like the religious leaders of the time, were very upset that he was doing these miracles on the Sabbath. God forbid, right? He's healing people, he's doing good things, and it's on the Sabbath, and they were upset because he's breaking the rules. And so they're following him around, and they're chasing him down, and they're trying to call him out on it. And this crowd forms, and Jesus is in this house, and he's got his 12 disciples with him, and the crowd is trying to press in and get around the house. The Pharisees are there, and all of a sudden, Jesus' mom and brother come, and they show up because they want to see him too. Because things are starting to happen in his life, and things are getting kind of crazy, so they're there, they want to see him. And so the crowd outside in verse 31 says, Jesus' mother and brother came and stood outside and sent a message to him inside the house, asking that he come out and speak to them. When the crowd sitting around Jesus heard this, they spoke up and said to him, "Jesus, your mother and brother are outside looking for you." And he answered them, "Who is my mother and my true brother?" Then, looking in the eyes of those who were sitting in a circle around him, he said, "Here are my true family members. For whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and my mother." That kind of rips apart the idea of like even what we consider family in America, right? Like our closest family is usually our biological family. And Jesus is on this path, this mission, this ministry, where he's looking at the people in the crowd saying, the people who are closest to me right now are actually these 12 guys around me. And I'm building them up and they're building me up, and they're my community. And especially in that day, in Jesus' day, I mean, your mom and your family, and that was everything. You disrespect that, you start tearing down the idea of like the family patriarchy, like that is a big no-no. So I'm sure if the Pharisees were mad before, and he's like, what is this guy talking about? Like, these can't be your family. You barely know these guys. Like, they're not family. What he was trying to say is he was trying to say that the people he cared about, the people who were closest to him, were the people that were doing life and ministry with him in that moment. And he was inviting all of us to shake up the idea of who we think as our true family, as believers, as followers of Christ, as people who call ourselves part of this body. We are family. We are community. And we should be looking for people who we can add to this family. And I think that's just really cool. So if we're supposed to be called to be in relationship with people, who are you called to be in relationship with? I know that's always the next question, right? If we're supposed to build community and build relationship, who is it then? Who are we supposed to do that with? We have an idea that reaching the world, the Great Commission, going out into the world, that's true for some people, right? You know, maybe for Billy Graham reaching millions of people, or Reinhard Bonnke, or maybe me because I'm standing up here with a microphone, or maybe Chris because you know he's talented and he can preach to people and he does a pretty good job. Maybe that's just reserved for people like that, and maybe that's what God meant when He meant reaching the world, right? Well, if that were true, there've only been a few people on this planet who have truly lived out God's vision, and I just don't think that that's true. I think instead, God calls each and every single one of us to follow the Great Commission in terms of our community. Reaching the world starts with reaching one, maybe two, maybe three people in your life and building your inner circle and getting involved in the community that you are surrounded with. And I think that should be encouraging to everybody in this room, because that means that we all have the opportunity to live out our purpose and what God has for each one of us in a real way that actually leads to life change for both you and the people around you. And it doesn't mean that you have to be the guy standing up there with a microphone. You don't have to be on TV or have 1 million followers on Instagram in order for you to bring about the thing that you have been put on this earth to do. And if that doesn't relieve some kind of pressure off of you, I don't know what does. Because sometimes when we start thinking about the grand vision and scheme of our life and what we're on this earth for, it gets daunting or depressing. Because if we feel like we're lost and we're not following the thing that God has called us to do, and we think we're missing the mark on some grand vision that He has for our life, and we can shrink that down to the daily interactions that we have with other people and what that can lead towards real life change for others and for ourselves, and realizing that if we just do that and do that well, we are fulfilling the call that God has for us in our lives. And that is awesome. And that is encouraging because we can do this. It is practical, it's possible, and it just takes a little bit of work. Sometimes a lot of bit of work. Relationship with other people is easy and the most difficult thing in the entire world. And we all know that, right? But God has not left us here to do it alone. He gives us the power to walk into community. Jesus sat down and he washed the feet of his 12 disciples. He ate meals with them. He became intimate with them. He did life with them. And our world can look a lot the same. You are called to be Christ in your world. Your crew, your coworkers, your inner circle, the people you spend 8 hours a day with, maybe your family, and maybe the ones that you love. And you know that means it means expanding those that you choose to love, which is hard. Showing love to others is work sometimes, but it comes from an overflow of his love in you, and that takes making sure that you are open to the love that God has for you and taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself and making sure that you're filled with God's love means that you are better equipped to overflow that love to the people around you. Fulfilling God's vision for your life could be as simple as living with intentionality with the ones you are in close contact with. And that leads me to the passage in James chapter 2, 14 through 15. This is that passage in the Bible that just talks about God talking about faith. You know, what does faith look like? What does it mean to have faith and then to live it out practically? And in the beginning it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, what good is it if someone claims to have faith but demonstrates no good works to prove it? How could this kind of faith save anybody? For example, if a brother or sister in faith is poorly clothed and hungry and you leave them saying, 'Goodbye, I hope you stay warm and have plenty to eat,' but you don't even provide them a coat or a cup of soup, what good is faith?" I think that is such an honest and just upfront challenge to everybody, that if we call ourselves people of faith and we walk through life where many of us are missing a coat and a cup of soup, and we don't take the time to first take care of each other well, then we're missing the whole point of what faith and action together look like. And how do we know that somebody needs a coat or a cup of soup in their life unless we get to know them? And it should be a challenge for us to truly get to know the people around us so that we can crack through that facade that we like to put up that everything is okay. Because we all like to walk around acting like everything's fine. I'm warm. I don't need anything. I'm full. I'm not hungry. And in our life, most of the time, things come up. Life comes and kicks you in the teeth, and it's not all sunshine and roses. And if we don't have, the ability to open ourselves up to other people, but be close enough to other people to ask them where they're at truly and get to know them well, we can't fulfill what God is calling us to do, which is to clothe and feed each other. A community is a group of people that all walk through this crazy adventure together and provide each other with the love that God gives us to each other. And I think that 2023 could look like all of us making a few practical steps in growing our inner circle, building community with each other. And that happened for somebody that comes to this church. His name is Andrew. His name is Andrew Townsend. And I did a little testimony video where I filmed him talking about his year this last year and what it looked like and what 2023 holds for him. And it's a really cool story. And I wanted to capture somebody who I think kind of exemplifies all of this stuff. Like somebody who saw some real life transformation and was willing to share it with you guys. And I filmed it. So it's like 9 minutes long. I have the video queued up, and I'll have them play it. And I just want you to listen to what Andrew has to say, and then we'll wrap things up. So are you guys ready to go back there? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Townsend. Some of you might know me, some of you might not, but I'm a welder at Burger Boat. Just in this past year, the Lord has completely changed my life. The old me is dead, and I'm able to enjoy the new me with the Father and everyone else around me. I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about the old me. I felt hopeless even with a great life and great family. Growing up, I had everything that a kid would want. I had loving parents, I had good friends, everything that one would need to have a good life, and still I felt hopeless because the devil just had his grasp on me, and he whispered these nasty thoughts in my head, and I believed him. I wanted to end my life because I didn't see purpose in life. Without the relationship that I have now with the Father, it's, you're in darkness. You don't see the light because Satan just wants to get rid of that light, keep you away from the light. And he did that for about 20 years of my life. I constantly questioned myself because I didn't even know who I was. Obviously, without a relationship with our Father, how am I supposed to know why I'm here? It's hard to know who you are when you have somebody whispering in your ear telling you everything that you're not supposed to think. And Satan really just kept me away from how the Lord felt about me. And it was terrible. I used alcohol, nicotine, and weed to silence my mind. I was scared of my thoughts. I ran away from my emotions, bottled them up. I didn't really talk to anybody about them because, I didn't even really understand them myself. And it was excruciating. We're meant to talk about our feelings with other people because people do get it. They understand. Maybe not exactly what you're going through, but they get the feelings. I argued with others that God wasn't real because I didn't have a relationship with the Father. The devil kept me away from my true potential and what the Lord thought about me. And I only had a relationship with the devil. It was not good. I only cared about how I was feeling and how to make myself feel better, and it didn't allow me to connect with others or worry about other people's problems that I might have been able to help with. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the new me. I wake up happy every day because I know I have purpose. I'm always talking to the Father. Maybe not as much as I should, but I try to as much as I can because He makes you feel good, and He shows you where to go. He tells you who to talk to. Everything. He literally will make every single choice for you if you let Him, and it changed my life. I am not afraid of dying because I know I will be with the Father, nor do I want to die because I get to carry out the Lord's will for my life. To live is Christ, and to die is gain, and I know what that means now because I am just straight up not afraid to die. I know where I'm going, and it doesn't bother me. I love my life now, and I get to help others enjoy life and help others understand that, there is a higher purpose to life, a higher calling. I always knew I had a higher calling my whole life, but I was too caught up in my own stuff to even I guess, want to figure it out because I was just too self-centered and focused on myself. I don't walk into a room and look around and not all scared of what people are thinking about me because I know what the Father thinks about me. It's so simple once you just realize, there's nobody that cares about you more than the Father. And He'll do amazing things in your life. I quit smoking and drinking altogether. So I vaped nicotine 24/7 constantly. I drank all the time because drinking, it's absolutely normalized around here, especially, and it's awful. It makes you who you're not. Smoking weed, that one was one that really had a grasp on me. I started smoking weed when I was 15 years old, probably 14 actually, and it slowly turned into a daily thing. It ruled my life. I woke up, straight thing I went to was my bong, and I thought it was okay because the Lord put it on this earth, all this stuff like that. But just because it's on this earth doesn't mean we can abuse it. I'm able to freely talk about my emotions and others' emotions because I know that it's healthy. I didn't think emotions were good because all the emotions that I really knew were physical pleasure or sad, angry, depressed. And it's like, there are things that'll make you happy in life, but there's nothing that's going to make you truly happy like the Lord does. I'm able to tell others about the love of the Lord and what He's done in my life because of the overflowing love and gratitude I have inside of me that comes from the Father. Like, why wouldn't I tell people about greatness that the Lord has given me? He literally changed everything. I mean, my buddies, they've seen it happen, and I'm just waiting on them to take their first step. And it's really hard to kind of explain to others what it's like, but you can definitely show them in ways that maybe you don't even try to. And just by being nice and talking to people, you can just show them the love of the Lord in that way. That's actually the way that I came to my faith, was through Jason Conant. He's like one of my best friends now. He's amazing, and he's the one who showed me the love of the Lord. He told me about his testimony, and that made me realize how real this thing is and how real it could be for me. And from right there, after I heard his testimony, it just really opened my eyes, because I realized that even though things may seem hopeless, there is everlasting hope. I try to worry about others more than myself because I truly care about others. Jesus, that's all He did. He didn't care about Himself to the point where He died for us. And that is the ultimate selflessness. And if I can strive to be that way in even the littlest bit every single day, more and more, that's what I got to do, because He did it for me, so I'm going to try to do it for others. And that is the basis of my everyday walk. I try to either tell people or show people how much they are loved. It's not easy in today's day and age, but at the same time it is, because of all the negative things we have. And just a little bit of love goes a really long way nowadays, because people really don't have a lot of that. So that was my 2022. All of those things happened within a year, and I want to encourage you to reach out to that person that you have been thinking about, or the person that you have been resenting, or anything. Just reach out, be selfless. It's just amazing what 1 year can do. And if you have the Father walking with you, He can change it all. Like, there's no end to the things that He can do. I have no clue what my 2023 is gonna hold for me, but I can only imagine it's gonna be amazing, because I'm gonna be walking with the Father, and I encourage you to do the same. Single-handedly, He changed my life, and I definitely had help from others. My buddy Jason, he is a huge part of it, because I'm able to ask him all these questions that I have, and I think that's a really big thing that you might need. A good resource, a good trusted resource where you can, ask these questions that are burning in your heart and to get an actual honest answer from someone who understands where you were and maybe where you want to be. And maybe you can be that person for someone else, or maybe you can try to find somebody, or maybe you have somebody like that. Just don't be scared, because the Lord is with you no matter what. He will always be there. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. It was an absolute pleasure.
Pretty great, huh? Barry, if you want to come up and play a little bit, get the mood going. What does God have for you in 2023? For Andrew, it looked like somebody stepping into his life, into his day-to-day, and doing nothing more than just being there. Being there and being a light in his life where he saw only darkness. And that story of life change that Andrew just shared could not have been possible without what Jason did in his life. Jason was used by God to reach Andrew. And it's funny when you talk to Andrew, if you ever have a chance to talk to him or even Jason, he'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you about how he came to work every day working at Burger Boat and just coming to work heavy and not happy when everything in his life was telling him that he should be. He had a good family. He was working a decent job, right? He was partying and having fun with his friends. Like, he wasn't going through this, or he didn't lose this person, or life seemed good for him, yet he just wasn't happy. He was depressed. And he started to turn to the things in his life that would ease that pain more often, until it just kind of consumed him. And Jason comes to work, and he's got Jesus written on his welding cap, on his face mask, And he comes to work and asks him, "How you doing, Andrew? It's nice to see you," and just smiling and chipper, coming to work every day. And Andrew's like, "Dude, what's your problem? Like, why are you not miserable and complaining like the rest of us? Like, don't you just hate it here?" And Jason's like, "No, like I have Jesus in my life." And if I'm not mistaken, most of the time, and I know this is my, what happens in my life too is it's kind of like, okay, dude, like, it's cool. Like, you got Jesus. That's sweet. It starts off as kind of like that's whatever, man, sweet. You can take your Jesus thing and go be happy somewhere else. I'm fine. And day after day after day turned into Andrew coming over and eating a meal with them, doing an alpha group in their home, getting curious, like, why does it seem like your life is better than my life? What do you have that I'm missing? What am I doing wrong here? And it's not that he was doing anything wrong. It's just that he didn't know who God was and what he had to offer in his life. And if you talk to Jason, and when Andrew talked to Jason, he found out it wasn't because bad things didn't happen in Jason's life. It's not that there was always good, and as soon as he met the Lord, life never came and kicked him in the teeth ever again. That wasn't the case at all. Jason shared his testimony, and it's a testimony of walking through those moments with God. God never abandoning him through all of the times when he wanted to end it all. And through that, Andrew said, I can have that too. Like, if you can have that, so can I. That seems attainable. But how does someone like Andrew know that unless there was somebody in his life there to help him in that? And then after making a decision, walking alongside him day after day after day, when questions come up, when you start reading this book, this Bible, and you go, what does this mean? How do I even apply this to my life? He asks Jason. And Jason points him back to the Lord. And no, he doesn't have all the answers, and neither do I, and neither does Chris, and neither does Autumn. But Jesus does. And he is the answer, and he can bring that to you. And I just want to encourage you. If you're in this room, if you're listening online, you're one of two people. You are either 2022 Andrew, who is in desperate need of the Lord. You need him to come into your life and to turn it around, because all you see in front of you is darkness. And you know that something is missing in your life. And 2023 could be your year. Today could be your day to take hold of the love that Jesus has for you and make him part of your life. Or you're in this room and you know the Lord and you're like Jason, but maybe you haven't done such a good job getting out there and finding that one person who you could latch onto and make part of your inner circle, that you could reach out to your community, your relationships that you're close to, and just simply be there for that person. Jason invited him into his home. They ate meals together. It didn't happen in these four walls. It didn't happen at church. And it didn't happen because somebody gave a sermon that touched his heart. It was because somebody was in his life helping him. It was the other 6 days. We say it all the time. But it wasn't because of something that happened on a Sunday morning. It was because somebody was there for him. Did Andrew come to church to find what was missing in his life? No. Jesus did that. And it was through somebody else. What does 2023 have in store for you? Maybe you sign up for Journey. You know, we offer the Journey class here at church, and it's a way to talk about your story. Talk about who you are, where you've come from, where you're going. Get to know some people who also have a story. And that's powerful. And if you'd like to sign up for that class, you can talk to myself or Autumn. And it's an easy application online. And it's just a great opportunity to get to know some people on a deep, deep level. And yeah, that's scary. And you hear Chris talk about how much he hates it all the time. But it's because it takes a little bit of work. But the reward that comes from diving deep with people that you barely know or have never even met before, that is some change. And that is some awesome opportunity to build really close community. Maybe you start building your inner circle this year. Maybe you realize that life is a little lonely right now. And it can be intimidating to reach out. But I encourage you to look at ways to build your inner circle. Think small. Who can you do life with? Who do you trust that you can take alongside you, or that you can bring alongside yourself, or that you can latch on to somebody who you trust? Do you need help finding out and figuring out what this even looks like? That's where we can help. Contact us, talk to us, let us know how we can help you. And in the great words of Autumn, I would just say, be curious about these things, right? Think about it. Like, what does this year have for you? And since I did great on time, and it's 11:15, I have a few minutes left. And what I would like to do is I would like to hear from maybe one or two people here, maybe a minute or two. Please don't make it long. I'll take the microphone away and take it from you, because you know how it goes. I want to hear maybe what God has done for you in 2022. Because if we haven't heard about it, we can't celebrate with you. And I would love for the opportunity to hear from you on what God has happened or what God has been doing for you in your life. So if there's anybody here who would like to share a little bit, kind of like Andrew did, about what this year has meant for you, or something, a moment, an event, something that brought about lasting impact for you in 2022, I would love to hear about it, and I think everybody here would love to hear about it too. So I'm just going to open it up, and I'll come right down here and give you the microphone and let you speak. And if you want me to bring the microphone to you, I can do that too. You don't have to get up if you don't want to stand in front of everybody. Just raise your hand and I can bring it right to you. But yeah, I'd love to hear from some people and get some community interaction from everybody, because I think it'd be important.
This last year has been a big shift for me. How do I start? I don't know. I felt like I was on a good path when I was like 18. When my dad died, and it was just like a plane crash for me, and I was drinking and smoking weed for years. And 2 months ago, I wanted to kill myself, and I think I took a bunch of pills or something. I went to the hospital, and I decided I needed to go back to rehab. It'd be my second time. And I feel like finally I'm back on a good path, and I'm doing the next right thing every day, and every day feels like an adventure. I'm happy to wake up. I'm happy to make a plan for the day, like even if it doesn't work out right. But I don't know. I'm happy. I'm up here playing on the cajon, and like I was so nervous, but I wasn't even nervous when I was up there. It was awesome. And I don't know. I'm just happy to be alive today, finally. And yeah, that's what I got.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm glad you're here. That's a really powerful story. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just glad that you had the courage to come up here and let us know, because you know we all want to celebrate with you, and I'm just glad that you're here and we get to be the body with you. So thank you for sharing. Is there anybody else that would like to? I'll give it to one more. Sandy, you got it.
Two 2022 was a very rough health year for me. I had so many issues going on in my body that was terrible. I've been a Christian since I can remember. God's always been there for me. But this 22, I was thinking, God, have you forgotten me? My body, I'm getting older. My body's falling apart. In November, I had congestive heart failure. In December, I had COVID. And Mike had it, and he had it pretty bad. And I was just like, what's going on? The world is I'm going to hell in a handbasket, and so is my body. And God gave me a message one night that I remember you. I know you. I know what you've gone through. Just stay the course. And he gave me a message, which I'm going to share with the ladies of the church in February. And he sees you, he loves you, and he hasn't forgotten you.
These messages of hope, of life, of real, of like what's really happening right now, unless I gave the microphone to you to share, we would have not known. I didn't know your story unless you shared it with me. And it was because I gave you an opportunity, right, to do that. I know, Sandy, that if I were to ask you how you were doing, you would tell me that. All of that would come from you to me. But it takes us asking, and then it takes us telling. I just encourage all of you this year to ask more. And when you're asked, let somebody know. Because we're all walking through this together. And if we can't come together and do this together and find those people who will walk through that with you, then like who are we? Right? Are we really living out our faith like it says in the book of James? Faith with action. Clothing each other, giving each other a cup of soup looks like having those conversations and growing close to each other and finding those people outside these walls who need him. And I just encourage all of you to find that person, to do that thing, because 2023 can be that for you, and it can be that for other people. And just want to say thank you guys, and that's all I have for today. So have a good rest of your Sunday, and if you want to talk, let me know. I'll be here. See ya.